hello to everybody listening remotely, and hello to the future people who are listening to this on a recording of some sort. So thanks for hanging in there. It's the end of the day on a Saturday for many of you. I'm going to share my screen. As we go, some of you have heard me speak before and are familiar with my work, so I thank you for coming back to this one. And I believe you can see that. So, bridge matter and spirit with dowsing. What does that mean to all of us, right? So, well, who am I? Of course, we've had the lovely description, and thank you for that. I was given the name at one of the ASD conferences several years back. I was given the name Water Woman, carrier of the sacred water, by our esteemed colleague and elder, White Eagle. And I know White Eagle sends his regrets this year as he was not able to attend to do the opening and closing ceremonies. As he has, I think, for the last 25 years. So we carry the tradition. We're all getting older, and we are all carrying the tradition. And what's important now in these days is, of course, to find the younger people, to pass the knowledge on to the children and the young people, and to adapt what we do to the modern world, because certainly what we do as dosers is equally important now as it has been over time when we were finding water and minerals. Also in this picture is my colleague Graham Gardner, who is my partner in International Dosers, and he is carrier of the sacred fire. You'll recognize Sandy Mack on the left, past ASD president, and Nancy Bradley on the right, past CSD president. So, you know, it's great to be in person, and it's great to be on Zoom together. So my teaching is somewhat eclectic. I've worked in the North American Native tradition with my late colleague, Many Horses, with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, with various initiations. I've studied in the Celtic tradition, the Kabbalistic tradition, and as mentioned, I'm currently an ordained metaphysical minister, which means that I am required by law to say my religion is metaphysics. That's the study of reality, the study of the nature of reality. And I think for all of us in the room today, and all of us dosers at the convention and wherever we are, that what we are doing is the study of reality. So back in the old days, we would do it perhaps through a more dogmatic or religious perspective. Nowadays, we're all talking about quantum physics, quantum mechanics. It doesn't really matter what the lens is. We are studying the nature of reality and finding our place within the universe. So my journey, and I like to start with this because, you know, is it embarrassing? Yes, it's embarrassing. I was afraid of the dark till I was 45 because I came in as being clairsentient. That's not a picture of me, but I remember playing inside stools and chairs and crying all the time because I was afraid and I couldn't see what was around me. Part of my mission now is to work with children and not to dismiss, oh, there's nothing there, because we know there's something there, and often these little guys, they can feel it. So part of the mission is to make it normal for the children. I had a big corporate career, had all the money in the world, and thought I was going to run AT&T, if you remember what that was. And then back when I was 29, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and spent the next 23 years, my hands as claws, and went through all the levels of Western medicine, and nothing really helped until I found dowsing, honestly, that I began to understand energy. I began to understand how I'm affected by the environment, how the environment influences me, and then finally with dowsing, how I can adjust my energy to be in resonance with the environment, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic. But that was a huge thing for me. So I've actually, you know, a lot of people get into dosing and then for a health crisis, and they leave when the health crisis is over. So for me, for years, my health improved tremendously, but every time I backed off the dosing or teaching or doing whatever, then my hands cramped up again. So it became sort of a biofeedback device that I needed to be in the energy stream and working with people in order to stay healthy. Through all of that, I came to realize that the autoimmune disorders can be the self not recognizing the self. And, what does that mean? So here we are in these human bodies on the planet in this timeline, in our normal reality. But it's as if, and I want to talk about this a little bit more later, but we're here as humans, but we're also here as spiritual beings. So I talk about earth mission and soul mission. And not everybody remembers the soul mission. Maybe, I'm sure everybody has one, but I would suggest that everybody here now, we know we have a soul mission, whether we have found it or not, we're walking towards it. What is it we're supposed to be doing? Why are we on the planet? What is the service we are meant to do? And service is a key thing. So the autoimmune disorders, once you come in alignment with what our purpose is, what your purpose is, then things kind of fall into place. So it's been, for me, I've been a professional dowser for 25 years, just about. So that's a long time. Through all of that, I'm grateful I've been giving the information, that I've been able to write these books. A lot of these are available also through the ASD bookstore, also from my website, dowser.ca. And I've just started putting them up on Amazon on Kindle because, as we know, it's very expensive to mail things. Amazon is amazing at delivering things. So these books that you see on the screen now are available as Amazon Prime, and you can order them in your home market. If you've got Prime, you can pay for shipping from your home market, but it's free with Prime, so that's great. And then some of the stuff's up on Kindle as well. Now, during the COVID times, which is now how we mark time, during the COVID times, as mentioned in the brief bio, I used to travel the world doing my work and teaching, and I've been sitting in this chair for 2.5 years. But during that time, I taught 40 online 3-hour workshops. So it's, what I like to say, it's the whole curriculum. So that's all on Vimeo as rentals, and you can see that there. So that's me. That's the journey, coming from a crying child in a big corporate career, getting sick, and then struggling. I say the journey of the human is kind of a painful one, because it's we are challenged to respond to the circumstances around us, and do we pick ourselves up and keep going, or do we collapse? So it's all, what are it's choice. That's my message as well. So for me, and if you've worked with me before, I don't just talk. We're going to do some dowsing, actual. So it's like a mini little workshop. But let me just say a couple more things first. So for me, dowsing is applied consciousness, just as engineering, civil engineering, electrical, all the rest of that, that is applied science. So for me, I like to equate the two, in that we all have consciousness. And as we learn how to apply consciousness, that creates the dowsing technique, dowsing technology. We're working with the sixth sense, which is the electromagnetic sense. Traditionally, we're given the 5 senses: taste, smell, hearing, etc. But there's seriously no mystery. The sixth sense is electromagnetic. And as other speakers have mentioned, we feel the vibration around us electromagnetically. So there's nothing weird about that. And for little kids, you don't know that things are impossible, but dowsing is applied consciousness. I also think, and I grew up, just full disclosure, I grew up as a Christian in the United Church, but really I'm more seated now in the idea of panpsychism, which means that there's a view or a philosophy. I think religion is philosophy, but there is a view that everything has consciousness. And we heard that from our other speakers as well. Everything has consciousness, whatever you call that, whether it's soul, consciousness, awareness. Clearly, a rock does not have human consciousness. But for me, the dowsing tool is like a universal translator, so that through this mechanism that we work with and practice with, it's another form of communication and a universal translator that it doesn't dumb things down. But, if a rock has got something to say, we can hear that. We can hear what the future says, what the past says too, because everything is one quantum wave. Let me get into that. So I talk more these days because I teach across culture and religion. I don't think of this or speak of it in terms of a religious experience, but in terms of quantum physics. And it's well known that quantum physics is one of the stranger things, even though it's been out about 100 years. We are not the first people to feel the effects, because certainly many of us felt the symptoms of the quantum experience before, but now we've got some science behind it. And honestly, it's as confusing to many of the scientists as it is to the rest of the public. And I'm not a scientist. But what they say is there is one wave. So it's in the entire universe, whatever universe we are in, there is one wave function, meaning there's only one thing. It's like a big bowl of Jello or something. And if you poke the Jello on one side, then you get a ripple on the other side. So that's kind of the quantum wave. And it's like everything is out there. There are so many possibilities, infinite possibilities that are possible. When the wave function collapses, that creates our reality. This is my interpretation of that, that there's like the big bowl of jelly, and then we take the spoon, stick it in, and that's, there's lunch kind of thing. So through, and let me say this, through dowsing, with our intention and our attention to the realm of possibilities, and by focusing on one thing, it collapses that. The awareness, that we can talk about quantum entanglement, but I'm not going to do that. But we know that our awareness can change things. And that's ultimately bridging matter and spirit. Our awareness, whether it's our soul or energy, whatever you want to call it, through our attention is manifesting. And I'm sure some of you have had the experience of, for a year or so ago, it was dimes falling out of the ether. I don't know whether any of you had that experience, but it was as if, we say that a lot, it was as if the ghosts, the aliens, the whatevers were leaving dimes. And lately I've heard about rocks falling out of nothing. I have heard of cases where it's raining inside the house and it's not the bathtub leaking. So our attention and intention can actually collapse that quantum wave and create physical matter. This is huge when we think about our own bodies and our self-healing. So that's what we do. I'm going to go out and say this, of anybody on the planet, I think dosers are probably the most aware of the possibilities of doing this, so that we understand, when I grew up, one of the things that we would say is question authority. So as dosers and as energy people and practitioners and people on our journey, we question the authority of perhaps what religion has told us, what science has told us, what the media has told us, and it's the direct experience of reality. That's the metaphysics. If we go in there and interact with reality and then get a result, it really doesn't matter if people think we're, somebody called this once the Olympics of woo-woo. So it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about what we do. If we get the results, then that's good enough, right? So we transform energy. And of course, that picture there that you can see, all the orbs, that was taken at another ASD conference, and we were drumming and enjoying ourselves. So the orb energies, and I do other talks on that, but the orb energies talk about manifesting things that in certain high emotional states, and sometimes just in benign states, but in joy, excitement, or grief even, our emotions can coalesce into the orb energies. And these orb energies can also, it's as if there's a membrane. These little guys can open up and exude plasma, and we get into a state where that plasma can actually physically turn into something. We could talk about that later. So if you've got questions, I'm going to roar through this, but put questions in, and we'll do questions at the end, I think. So with dosing, you can communicate with all things and with all times. So we talk about that one wave function. We talk about light moving, and we know light, from here, the light on us is moving out. We don't see each other. And particularly right now, since we're electronic, I'm only an energy being, you're just seeing various electromagnetic electrons bouncing around. Well, all that stuff just keeps going out. When we have an action, that action keeps radiating out, which is how we can access the past. Some people call that the Akashic Records, where you can cast your mind, whatever you want to call it, through the waves and bring back that information. And honestly, there's nothing fancy on that either. Similarly, we seem to be able to go into the future, because I work with the future a lot now as well. So we can feel, we can dose if there is a future consciousness that is trying to interact with us. So think of this one wave function. So we can go back and forth through time. The most important thing, though, to be healthy and to be successful is to be fully in our own bodies. We are human. We are human. And a lot of our energy colleagues, we think about the chakras and the energy systems. A lot of folks are kind of in the upper chakras, and some people want to go home, whatever that is. But really, to be successful in our lives and on the planet, we need to be fully in our bodies, fully functional. So I invite you to dose. We're not teaching to dose at this point, because I'm sure you already know, but I use a bobber a lot. You can use rods, a pendulum. You can use your fingers. For me, it seems safer to use a tool, because when one is interacting directly without a tool with an energy, if it is a toxic energy, then some aspect of that toxic energy can come into your body system. So those of you who are maybe getting headaches or some troubles, and you're deviceless dowsing, try using a tool to make that little bit of separation between you and everything else. I also find dowsing works best from a place of detached compassion. So when we see the problem, like we're working with people or with our family members or friends, and of course we all have problems. However, if you emotionally fall into the problem, or even into your own problem, it's very difficult to help the other person. So we stay emotionally detached, which is training. I see you have a problem, can I help you? And that's how I do my ghost busting too. I never greet things with fear or anger or love or anything. It's just, oh, I see you're there, can I help you? And we'll talk about spirit teams a little bit. Back in the old days, I was interested in the names, what are the names of my spirit guides? And now I don't go there. And when I encounter beings, I just give them numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because whatever, I honestly believe this, that other beings, other dimensional beings are able to access at some level our thought forms. And depending on who they are, can choose to access things that will make us happy or things that will make us afraid. So I try to keep in this really neutral place emotionally, so that I'm less vulnerable that way. Of course, we're all vulnerable because we're human. We're human beings, but we try to be compassionate and detached. Anyway, if you want, you can dose through this. So we've talked, this is a plus minus chart. You've probably seen one of these things. If you don't have the plus minus, you can use your hand, the center finger being your neutral. So we have, the first time I got a chart, it only had 1 to 10, plus 1 to 10, which that doesn't help you at all. It helps you if you're going to make a choice between what should I eat for dinner, chicken or beef, what's the best thing. However, if you've got a situation, and I'm going to invite you to think about goals and think about issues in your lives, things that you would like to change. And you might, here's the phrase I use, please show me the overall effect of X at this time. So if you've got a liver condition, for example, you could get your pendulum going, and you can use your hand if you have this, or I'm sure in the handouts you probably have a plus minus. But you get your pendulum going on the 0 and then say, please indicate the overall condition of my, for example, liver at this time. I'm using my cursor for this. I hope you can see it. And it's going between -8 and 1/8. -8 and -1. That tells me, and this is hypothetical, right? I'm not actually dosing my liver, although sometimes I do my own work in the classes. But a variable reading, like if it just came, -5, my liver is like, oh, pretty sick, or +10, my liver's perfect, for example, that gives me an answer. But I get a variable, -8 to -1, and this probably And then I could ask with my dosing, and that's my yes. Is the state of my body organ, in this case liver, is that dependent on my the foods I eat? I get a yes. On the amount of sleep I get, no. So you can ask. First off, it's the most useful chart there is, not just yes, no, but what's the overall effect of X at this time. And then when you go to put a remedy in, you can say, what is the overall potential benefit of me doing the remedy? What would a remedy be? In dosing, it can be with a protocol, which I'm going to share with you, or it could be more sleep, more meditation, more drugs, more supplements, more whatever. So my technique always detect the problem. So that's what we're going to do, detect things, and then detect and then transform. And I tend to do as much of the detection as I can at once, and the transformation after. I'm reminded of teaching a workshop in Italy with the Italian Society, and we spent the 75% of the time with detection, and I could tell they were getting frustrated with me. It's like, well, when are we going to fix it? And it's like, once you get the whole basket of stuff to fix, then it's, there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of connections, there's a lot of spillover, and it's much easier to fix things when you've got the whole basket of problems. If you just do things one at a time, I find the energies shift, as does extra consciousness. Things will move around and shift. You may have heard of people going into a home, maybe into your home, or maybe you've done it. You go in to clear up some sort of energy, and it's gone while you're there, or while the practitioner is at your house, and then it comes back. It's because it's not all done at once. So it's like I throw everything in the bucket and then go. But anyway, plus minus chart, really important. The dosing protocol. So this is something I developed over the last 20 years, honestly, with thank you to my teachers and all the people I've studied with, and all the students who have given me feedback. I've got it up here on the screen as 11 points. If you send me an email, susan@dowser.ca, I will send you a free 2-page PDF. And I updated, the last one was, I think, March of 2022. And we go from there. So I'm just going to do that. But every part of this, honestly, is important. For me, if I dose without doing the protocol, and I did it before I started, then I don't know where my answers are coming from. I don't know what's going on. So you probably can't see this because I'm sure my image is quite small, but I have my bobber, and I ask to balance my physical body. I invite you, if you want, to pick up your pendulum or dosing tool, whatever you've got, and as you're sitting there, and nobody's watching you, so don't worry, and you could do it under the table so nobody could see, but you might do this. So first get your yes, and then get your no. And I'm sure you guys have that already. So number one, we ask that our physical bodies are in balance. And you get a yes or a no. If you get a no, I acknowledge it's the end of the day. It's at the conference. We're probably thirsty, hungry, all the rest of it. But for accurate dosing, you want to be in top shape. It's not something you do well, I do anyway. It's not something I do at night or after I've had a glass of wine. My best dosing usually is in the morning. So we ask that our physical bodies be in balance. We connect, and that's the word I use. We ask to connect to our human bodies for our good health. And that's the place I start. Connect to my human body for my good health, because that's the platform. I then ask to connect with the intelligent and beneficial energies of nature. I get a yes on that. Because we're human on the planet, we're being fed by the electromagnetic soup and all the things, the air, the earth, the water, the fire. We are of this world. So let's get in our bodies and plug in to what the earth has for us. I then ask to connect with the divine source, and that can be God, that could be creator, whatever your higher spiritual principle is. And then I ask to connect with my spirit team. Now, I could do this for myself, but I'm not permitted to do it for you guys. So I invite you, if you choose, to connect with your spirit team. These are the regular, you can call them angels, guardians, whatever. But I call it my posse, honestly. They're the ones who are with me all the time, and then just we just truck around together, and they're, with me. If you don't have, if You can ask, do I have it? Do I say your own name? Do I have a spirit team? If you get a no, know that you can invite one in. The other thing that comes next, it's not up there, I ask for the assistance of beneficial beings in resonance with me and the divine source. So that's on a per case basis. So if I'm working with a particular client, or I've got like car trouble or TV trouble or indigestion or whatever it is, I bring in the specialists for that. Anyway, the next one is forgiveness. Creator, forgive me. And I invite you to do this. You don't have to, but you can say God, whatever you want. Creator, forgive me. I forgive myself. I forgive all those who've harmed me. I release them from my body, mind, and spirit. I ask all those who I have harmed to release me so I am free. When you get a no in any of there, sometimes all you have to say sometimes, is, well, I'm human. I made mistakes. I screwed up. I'll try to do better. I mean, all we can do, this is the whole speech here. We choose what our actions will be. And when we choose to be in service for beneficial outcomes, successful ongoing outcomes, particularly for others, particularly for the children, then that seems to help the universe bring us the energy we need to create the result. If we just say, heal me. In fact, I learned this because back when I had the arthritis, my hands will still claws. I spent years saying, heal me, heal my body. And I did get a message back. I used to do the alphabet chart, and which is a very dangerous thing, but that's a sidebar. I got a message, dear God, heal me, heal my hands. And I got a message back, not as long as you ask, which like blew me away. So as long as I asked for me, it's like, But if I began to say, heal my hands so I can help other people. And look at my hands now, yay. Anyway, so I'm going on and on here. But step 4, you clear yourself of non-beneficial energies. Step 5, maximize the beneficial. Get the permissions, which you're familiar with. The dosing is the easy part. Step 8 is creating the ongoing energy system that we can't just sit there all day and do 500 minutes of dosing. So we create an automatic system. Very important at the end, disconnect from the session. And all you guys, at the end of the conference, before you go to bed and everything, clean yourselves up, disconnect from all the stuff, except the stuff that is helpful to you in this body. And then thanking and communicating. Okay, so that's my long-winded stuff. So here we are, we are the smartest people in the world. We're the most, adept. We have all this, I never used to use the words magic and miracles, but I do now because we are the people who can do this stuff. The problem can be that there's trickster energy, and it's important to recognize. So I like this picture. I don't know, I hope you can see it on your screen there, but this cracks me up, honestly. So what we have on the left side of the screen is a human standing there. On the right side of the screen is a little alien guy. And then in this mirror template, whatever you want to call that, we have an image of Archangel Michael. Now, all of this stuff is completely made up, but the message on that is that other dimensional things can and do present themselves as something that they are not to us. And I mentioned earlier that they could present an image that will, a lot of folk have told me, oh, I saw an image of Archangel Michael, specifically Archangel Michael. Because these beings can kind of riffle through our heads and go, oh, they like Archangel Michael, I'm going to show up as that. Maybe it is Archangel Michael, but you got to be checking. Or they scare you by showing up as some demon. For me, I always got the demons. I never had a pleasant experience in my life with anything angelic. It was always demons. So that was a big motivator for me to be able to control it, sadly. So how do we get that psychic protection? So, why are these movies so popular? I'm sure you recognize Gandalf, and he's got a staff, and there's Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber, and Harry Potter. Like, it goes generation to generation. That's something about these things, this idea, magic is real, all I need is a tool. There's something about that we know in our hearts is real. And for us dowsers, it is pendulum, it is the bobber, it is the L rod, it's the various tools that we use that we can use to direct the energy. And again, referring to deviceless dowsing, we are powerful mental projectors, but it can be useful and less tiring to use a tool, to use that magic wand and direct the energy, whatever that is. You can work with that. But what else do we need? So for me, it's the dosing protocol. I'm going to refer back to 2010, back in the olden days, where, if you recall, if you were around in those days, a lot of our teachers died, like our magnificent dowsers, and our teachers started dying. And why are they dying? They're brilliant people. Some of them got sick. During the same period, I was recovering my health. And that's where I really started plugging in the dosing protocol, that if we bring our full attention to the energies that are outside of us, and you've already seen it, and you know what I do, but it's not just us. I like to say now that we little humans don't do anything, but we are able to access energies and direct them for the greater good. And all this information is conveyed for the greater good. Any information that is conveyed that is not used for the greater good, there is always a backlash on that. So how do we stay protected? We do the dosing protocol. And another one of my favorite sayings is maintain your sovereign being. I had an associate who, honestly, a lot of my clients are training to be psychic mediums. And that's an honorable pursuit, but I don't think the training always includes enough about psychic protection. So there's a lot of our juicy morsel humans who are entering into these states of consciousness without the barriers to protect our human identity. One of my colleagues, in response to that, said, well, I don't know, I just let spirit do whatever they want. It's like, whoa, if you let spirit do whatever it wants, and I use the word spirit, there are beneficial and non-beneficial, and you got to know what you're bringing in. And God bless you if you're doing it safely and in service, but a lot of people get in trouble with that. So maintain your sovereign being. You are a human on the planet. It is your birthright. I say dowsing is your birthright technology. You deserve to be here. You are worthy of respect, love, and money. And we are the most powerful. I know when there was a 6-year-old I knew, from the time of his birth, he could feel and hear spirits, beings, energies. They wanted him to come out and play. He had to learn to speak. And then I heard it. He told me. And I wasn't really doing this work then, so I couldn't help him. But out of desperation as a mother, I said, well, those beings are just jealous because you have a body. You just have to tell them to go away. And the 6-year-old did that, and they went away. So how about that? Kids don't know things are impossible, so they have a lot of power. And what else? Stay conscious. Like, we are only overcome with the other if we are not conscious. So again, I prefer, and we know and the dosers know this too, that trained dosers are active in all brainwave frequencies. So when you hear me sigh or a little shiver or something, then I am dropping down, up and down the brainwave frequencies. I'm not getting stuck in any of them, but I am conscious and integrating all the brainwave frequencies. So even when asleep, you can set triggers when you're sleeping or just during the day. For me, it can be a little tingle on the side of my head or something. Or it's just like, pay attention. So stay conscious. I use a physical object, so I use a variety of things. We often have amulets or rings, or I have a medicine bag, various things. But that physical thing, like, we're not too good to have, it's not a crutch. It's a reminder. For me, these physical objects are reminders. I am worthy of respect, love, and money. I am worthy of doing this. As we go into the dosing state of consciousness, I do believe we become avatars for greater consciousness. So you want to stay clean. That's the main thing. So psychic protection while you sleep. That's why they invented prayers, before you go to bed. Anyway, very important. You can also dose, and I invite you to do that now if you choose, because am I safe? That's such a basic thing. And we have all our fancy charts and words, but simply pick up your pendulum. And when you go back to your rooms tonight, you're at the convention, some of you and some of you at home, wherever you are, you might say, am I safe on average in my home? Am I safe on average at the convention? Am I safe? But in this case, am I safe to, oh, my throat is shutting down. I'm not going to tell you what to do any further. There you go. When the throat chakra shuts down, it's an indication that I may be overstepping what I need to say. So I invite you to dose and see if you've got enough psychic protection. And is your dosing accurate, low, medium, high kind of thing. Pretty easy stuff. Like, we could make this super complicated, or we can make it pretty easy. So here's another way to make it easy. There are many, you've heard many things at the conference and in the books and on the websites and podcasts and all over the place about different types of energy. And every culture has their own language that describes this. So because I do teach internationally, I don't want to impose, for example, a North American concept of what is beneficial or non-beneficial. That label. So I've just come down to, and I invite you to dose this. Are the energies around you beneficial, non-beneficial? And I usually add in there too, are the energies around you on average beneficial? Or when you think of your issue or the problem you're having or relationship, are the energies associated with this relationship beneficial on average or non-beneficial on average? Or when you go into a certain place or you eat certain foods. I used to not worry about neutral, but now neutral, what are the energies that are neutral? Some of them perhaps truly are neutral, but when we're talking about extra consciousness, and honestly, most of the work I do is with regard to psychic stuff, extra consciousness, interdimensional beings that come and go. So if there are, I invite you to dose. Are there multidimensional beings in my field? Say your own name. Are there multidimensional beings in my field that are neutral? You get a yes or no. Then you could ask, if you get a yes, are they waiting for something? You get a yes or no. Are they watching? You get a yes or no. So then I started thinking, well, if these things are they're just sitting there waiting and watching, what are they waiting for? And are they waiting, for example, for me to be vulnerable and then they can swoop in? Or are they waiting to give me the winning ticket on the lottery? Not as likely that. But, nothing is, I would say nothing is neutral. Like, as some people say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So we want to know what is beneficial. And when we ask that, beneficial to me or my client or my dog or my plants that I'm trying to grow, it's always beneficial to who is the client. You, your child, your pet, the garden, the economy, whatever it is. So that's a simple way to look at it. Okay, this is a little more, and I invite you to dose. On this one, psychic cords. And get this, honestly, it gets kind of scary, but we don't have to be scared about anything. But what is a psychic cord? A psychic cord, and I've experienced these, I don't believe anything. I experience things. So I read books, as we all do, and there are concepts presented, or you hear speakers, they say all kinds of things. And for me, I don't believe it, I need to experience it. So if somebody says something, I'll dose it, or I'll feel it in my body. So doing water wells, which is another thing I do, I'll ask for my body to show me the energy of the water and what it's doing. If I have a client, I'll ask them to stand on the spot, and I'll ask them to ask their body to show them the energy of the water. And surprisingly, some people, oh yeah, I feel cool, or I feel they have an experience. So, you know, I like to say, don't believe anybody. Trust yourself, because you know, and trust your dowsing. Just before you douse, use some sort of protocol that brings you to truth, the truth, the truth, the truth. It's also as you don't want to base all your decisions on the pendulum. We've heard speakers talk about, you know, my pendulum says this and your pendulum says that. You know, it's like you don't want to get into a war of pendulums. You use your common sense. I remember doing a conference way back, and we were going over the budget, the bill from the university, as we do. And my colleague said, she doused it. She says, "Oh, it's fine." And I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to read the numbers." And I did find a discrepancy. So dowsing is not for the lazy. It's actually a fair chunk of work to do. To get in there accurately, consistently, it takes attention and intention. It's a bit of work. Anyway, what's a psychic cord? From the picture, you can see that it seems to be some sort of energy stream. It's the potential for an energy stream that is connecting you and something else. Now they can go in or out. They can go to another human or to an object or to another time. But it's like a sinkhole of if you, and you know, close your eyes. Remember a time you were with somebody that you bumped into somebody unexpectedly and suddenly you felt weak. You actually felt your body shutting down. That would be an example of a psychic cord or psychic field or some sort of non-beneficial drainage, very likely. It's either dominating your field or sucking your energy out. So we call people who take our energy vampires, which is maybe not a very nice term. So that's the concept. So I invite you to dose if you choose. And we'll do a little balancing at the end. So ask to be given what you are ready to release. Ask to be given the information that you are ready to hear. Because as we go through our journey, if we hear it all at the very first day, we'll run screaming from the room. But with practice and dedication, we go through these steps, and we find out more as we go along. I'm honestly have been doing this so many years, and I'm honestly amazed. It just keeps getting more amazing and more information. Anyway, so I invite you to dose if you choose. First one is say your own name. Always it's say your own name. Do I have any non-beneficial psychic cords attached to me, your own name, on average? And you'll get a yes or no. Most people will get a yes on that, unless you've just cleaned up, which maybe you have. If you get the on average, when we just do it in the moment, it's only in that moment and things run and hide. If we do it on average, you might say on the average of the last 6 months, because even if you've just cleaned yourself up now, like this stuff, we're in this soup, we're in this energy soup. So I invite you to dose. Have I had any non-beneficial psychic cords in my field on average in the last 6 months? You probably get a yes. By now you should get a yes, very likely. If not, good for you. So you get a yes. Then you might ask how many. So you can go back to your plus minus and say, please swing to the line a number that best represents the number of psychic cords I have had in my field or have now in my field. Or else you can use the plus minus chart or just ask 1, 2, 3, more than 5, more than 10, more than 20, 17, get specific. So there are perhaps some, they're connected to something. And so what are they connected to? So I'm going to run through this little list and you can dose yes or no. Are any of the non-beneficial psychic cords that have been in my field associated with a human, a living human, a dead human? Have any of the non-beneficial psychic cords that have been in my field associated with a spirit, whatever that is, other dimensional being, or with an animal? Any non-beneficial psychic cords associated with an animal, with a place? Are there any non-beneficial cords in my field that are associated with a place or with an object? And I have to say, you know, we all go to the antique stores and the thrift shops and garage sales, and we bring home things. And it's, I invite you to dose. Have I brought into my house through an object non-beneficial energies or psychic cords? It's so common, right? Also, when people come to visit you, have they dropped off any non-beneficial psychic cords or energies? So we're talking a cord, but we can also see this as a field. It's some sort of connection, some sort of stream. It's like a vacuum hose to some extent. And then I always throw the word other. Do I have any non-beneficial psychic cords associated with any other source? And you may find something. I didn't put time in there. There could be a time, another time. So then you want to look at the flow. Is the energy coming into you, or is the energy flowing out of you? So the direction of flow is quite important. And this is hard to dose, but if the energy is coming into you, it could be two things. One, either you're the non-beneficial, you're the energy vampire, or two, someone is projecting a non-beneficial energy stream or field. So if there's non-beneficial energy going into you, you want to see where that's going back to. And again, go through your checklists. And honestly, you don't do this necessarily like right at the conference at this time of night. But check the flow. What flow is it going? And then how many? You've maybe already done that. And then to a specific point in the body. So if you've got an injury, I'd like you to bring to mind any injury or illness you've had, or a chronic condition that represents itself in a certain part of your body. And then I invite you to dose. Has this condition related to non-beneficial energy fields or cords that have been transmitted towards me? And you know, this can be scary work, right? So you do it at your own time. Let's talk, speaking of scary, let's do curses. I don't use the word curse. I use the word non-beneficial thought form. But when I say non-beneficial thought form, people say, what about curses? So I go in there. Let's talk about curses. And once again, not to scare you, but on average, is curse energy active in my, say your own name, is curse energy active in my energy field on average? Is the source of the curse energy outside of me? Am I the source? What the heck, right? How could we each be the source? How could we be the source of the curses on us? It's quite simple, because we say things like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. You know, I always do that. Oh, I'm such a, you know, I always mess that up. So the subconscious is hearing all this. So even if everyone around you is saying, oh no, my best friend at university was offered the job of her dreams and she turned it down because she didn't think she could do it. Everybody else thought she could do it, but she said, no, I don't want to fail. People don't want to fail, so they don't try. But anyway, if it's important, like, where are these curses coming from? And again, one would look at the source of the symptoms. Does it come from this time, present, past, future? Are this the curse energy coming from other dimensions? We have what we call our normal reality, but we know from physics, I always go back to that, there are 11 curled up dimensions. This is all part of string theory and all of that. We don't really understand. We as dosers can access these energy fields because we transcend space and time without fear and without judgment. That's the huge part of it. So if you just find, oh gosh, I am the source of the curse energy, then you go, oh, I'm glad I've received this information. Now I can do something about it. So I always ask to receive the information I need at the appropriate time, not be overwhelmed. No healing crisis. I don't go there. I don't want to have a headache or cry. So we ask that the energies integrate. Once we're going to do the transformation at the end, but I just want to set that up, that whatever we find, we are ready to hear, and you get to do something about it if you want. And then does something in the environment amplify the energy? So for me, when I was starting out and I was crippled, I used to lie down on my porch, and meanwhile, I'd collected all these crystals. Unbeknownst to me, I'd put all the crystals amplifying all the really non-beneficial earth energies. I only knew this because I felt worse when I lay down. When I got up, I felt worse than when I lay down. So I was like, oh, I get it. There's something wrong here. So, it is a lot of work. We don't douse once and it's all fixed, right? We do the investigation and we peel away the onion and we do the work, and we ask for help. And with the conference and the American Society of Dowsers and the other big groups, that's why we all exist, to help each other and to share this information. Gone are the days where we'd all be killed for saying this, and gone are the days where this was all held in secret societies and you had to be an initiate in ancient Greece or something. So there can be a danger in that because the information is widespread, and it's like handing guns out to people. No offense to the gun folk, but if you don't know how to use a gun and you're handed a loaded gun, which is what this technology is, you got to know how to shoot it. You got to know how to put the safety catch on and all the rest of that. So what we are teaching and what we're all learning is extremely powerful, not to be underestimated. Also, if it's misused, there's a huge bite back. So definitely not a party game. I encourage you to teach your children and young people to the extent that they can appreciate it, are able to understand it. But limit with your own psychic ability. You can put a cap on what they can call in, the Ouija boards. I call them message charts. Some people use that successfully, but it's really not, in my opinion, suitable for a child. Everything is just my opinion. Anyway, removing curses. So how else do we, oh my God, we got all this stuff. How do we transform the problem? Detection. And we have to be brave enough to face the thing. It's not, oh, I hope it goes away somehow if I close my eyes. That's generally, I heard something the other day I'm going to repeat here. I'm not saying who said it, but an individual had been inundated with other dimensional energy that was creating havoc for herself and her children. And somebody said, oh, just go and garden and dissipate the energy into the earth. It's like, maybe, but maybe you got to find the source of that contaminating energy and stop it. And then you can go and garden and get rid of the rest of it. So it's like turning off the bathtub. You got to find out where the bathtub is and what energy is coming out. Turn off the tap and then drain it. And then you can clean the bathtub too. Anyway, detect. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to look at yourself, because it's okay. And other people may not want to hear things. You will, as a dowser, you will find out more things about somebody else than they want you to know. So it's always very careful. Mind your business, whatever. Anyway, detect the problem. Then we detach from it, because if we are emotionally in the problem, oh, I'm so angry at my boss, that doesn't really help solve the problem. So this is part of the training. We detach, and you can do mindfulness things, and I'm sure you do yoga and whatever. Anyway, detach to some extent, and then you deal with what's going on. And that's the place. Like, don't send the angry email. You can write the angry email and then put it in your draft folder. And then if you still feel that way, send the email. Anyway, at the end, we will do a little transformation. So back to Earth missions. Why are we here? Why the heck are we here? We are these amazing things, and here we are in these human bodies. And I love this picture. That's kind of what like being a human is. It's courage. It is learning to make choices. It is learning to come back, learning to be hurt and then to recover. It's the Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Thank you. Please forgive me. I love you. I mean, I love that stuff, and that can be applied to everywhere. But the Earth mission, basically, you got to feed yourself, have shelter, look after each other, be excellent to each other, right? In this body. So that's why we have to be in our bodies. To be fully in our bodies, we need that in order to embrace the soul mission, because the soul mission transcends time, and many of you probably already know what you're doing. You know you've come from someplace else, some other time, how many times. You know you've done certain things before. Well, what is it this time? What is my soul mission this time that I need to eke out? For me, apparently, it's teaching this stuff and being a witness for it, and other things too. But once you align, you know, the human mission, the earth mission is pretty easy to figure out. The soul mission, once you align with that, then it's as if we talked about the quantum wave collapsing. You set your soul mission and boom, the quantum wave collapses and creates, manifests that which you need. For me, I was crippled and I said, dear God, you know, I got that I was supposed to teach and go around and all the rest of it. And I'm lying in bed and crippled with my kids playing on top of me because I couldn't get out of bed. And I said, I make deals with God. I said, dear God, I'll go and do this, but you have to give me the physical strength and the financial resources, and then I'll go and do it. And that seemed to work. So, you know, we pray to God, or we ask God things, but we got to listen too. And dowsing is a way of, it's interactive prayer. And if we need something, I've heard other people say, if there's a problem in the family, oh, give me the pain because I can handle it. You know, for their child, for example, the child is sick and the mother says, or the father, I will take this on. You don't have to take that on. You can just remove it without you taking it on. So we don't, as I say, we don't do anything. We align ourselves with the universe, and the universe deals with these things. That's way more powerful than us. So that's a big question we're all facing. How do we balance the earth and soul missions, and how do we bridge matter and spirit? Because we are experiencing the phenomena. And I think others have before us, but I think our generation over the last however many years, certainly how long have you been doing it? And you are representing, you know, whether your friends and family think we're all out of our minds or not, we are starting to do that. You know, it's opening up, and then it's like, how do we safely navigate between matter and spirit? So that's a personal choice. And, you know, not everybody can do everything. If you're feeling physically incapacitated, and you know you really want to open a cat shelter or whatever it is, you say, dear God, be strong, give me the resources, find me sponsors so that I can look after small animals, because we all have a different mission. And I had a client who was, her mission was wasn't in fact living animals, it was the dead animals, the dead spirits of animals, because they get kind of lost and confused too. Anyway, we all have our own unique way of going. So how do we do it all? It's with dowsing, and you're choosing. You choose what you're going to do. Today, you've come to choose to the conference and choose to listen in on here. And what do you choose to do tomorrow? And how do we keep making choices that move us forward? Of course, always be careful what you wish for. In this cartoon, it's the genie and the lamp. The fellow says, I want to have enough money to last the rest of my life. The genie says, granted, you have 1 week to live. So when you're setting your goals and when you're making your wish, make sure it's a wish that doesn't have unintended consequences. So dowsing can help with that too. I always write things down. You can write down your wish or your statement or your whatever, your mission, and then dowse. Is this the most appropriate mission statement for me? And then use your plus minus chart to determine how beneficial it is. So let's make this a workshop, and I invite you, if you want, think of a goal. And, you know, maybe it's something you came into the conference with or into the series of lectures. Think of the thing you think you want, and then dowse. Say your own name. Am I willing to achieve this goal? Do I want to achieve this goal? Dowse. Am I able to achieve this goal? Am I willing to have it? Do I want to have it? Am I able to have it? Because sometimes we have a dream, you know, I'd love to have, you know, a yacht or something. Well, what is it you really want? You really want to have the time, you know, you really want to live on a tropical island or something. Anyway, if I went and lived on a tropical island on my yacht, then I wouldn't be near my family. Oh, so maybe I really don't want that. So whatever your goal is, am I willing to achieve it? Do I want it? Am I able to? And you can also go into your plus minus chart. At what percentage am I willing? Maybe plus 20%. Do I want it plus 65%? Am I able to, oh, minus 20, you know? So it's like doing the work and say, well, I'm not able to, what do I need? What is the strategy? This is all classic goal setting. In order for me to go and live on an island, what do I have to do? Anyway, that's thinking of your goals. And the big thing, are my goals in service? I mentioned earlier, I used to say, heal me, you know, just heal my body. So just heal my body. And that didn't work until I said, heal my body so I can help other people. And there's a native saying, North American native tradition, that the elders have said, with the first sip of water in the morning, heal me if there's anything wrong and give me the wisdom to share.
Susan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We have about 15 more minutes.
Thank you. Yep, we're on track. So just check to see if your goals are in service, because if they're in service, the universe lines up, and maybe you can just adjust your goals a little bit. Okay, so there's a Taurus. We were hearing about that earlier. Taurus is truly a very dynamic graphic form. So in order to move ahead, be in the present, resolve the past, and create the future. And choose. That's the big thing. So if we're dragging around the past, it's pretty hard to create the future. So this is the examination. You know, as Dowsers, we can do that. There's charts all over the place. And, you know, what is the thing I need to work on now? Also, this is one of my things. I ask to receive and integrate useful information at the appropriate rate, because Spirit will just give you this mind dump. You've probably experienced this. You know, you go into this state and suddenly there's more information than you can receive, than I can receive. I've experienced that, which is why I like to write things down and use these little charts and all that, because it slows the process down to my human brain. I want to quickly, I know we have just a few minutes, but quickly, energy broadcasting. And we've heard about radionics, and there are many ways of doing this. This is a form of radionics, but I just call it energy broadcasting. So we have here in this diagram, I've got a copper device, which is like a portable, it's in the flower of life, and it's like a portable, portal. There you go. If you stand on that thing, when I first got it, I would take it to my practice groups, we'd stand on it, and then we'd all just get headaches and pass out. So, you know, these energy tools are real. But anyway, so I use that as a base. I have some magnets in there. I have some feathers. I have, on this piece of paper, I've got my client name, some kind of witness thing going on. You'll see in the back here, I'm burning sage in this case, and a copper thing. I have water here. This is like on the fly. So it's just wherever you are, you can make this sort of energy broadcasting machine with what you've got. On the side, I have colors, all frequency, right? It's all frequency. So it's all this stuff that, you know, I have just collect things. First off, determine what it is you're trying to do. Identify what should go in it. You probably have a house full of copper and magnets and crystals and all the rest of it. So you go around, you dose, would this be appropriate to put in there? You install the broadcast, so you set it up in a place that won't be disturbed. Activate it with your dosing, and then time it for maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's a week. Figure that out, and then when you're done, turn it off. Okay, so we got 9 minutes to go, but do you choose to transform anything now? Remove barriers to goals, release what no longer serves, maximize beneficial energies around you, create successful ongoing outcomes? I'm sure you do. Let's do the protocol. I'm going to do a quick one, and I'll use my bobber. So I invite you guys to pick up your pendulum or put your hand on your heart, whether you're at home or on the recording or in the room. We acknowledge we are human beings. We acknowledge we have made choices in our lives. And at this point, we ask to disconnect any residual non-beneficial energies or systems or processes that are infecting our energy fields or bodies. We ask to disconnect most appropriately at the most appropriate rate any historical or future or present time non-beneficial energies and processes associated with all aspects of my physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic being. Disconnect in all dimensions, time frames, realities, and frequencies. Disconnect all known, unknown, hidden, secret, stealth, disguised, residual, fractal, fluctuating, ionic, reversed, non-beneficial energies and processes, non-beneficial psychic cords, quantum connections, energy triggers, and cellular memories. My tool is in a continual disconnect, so we ask that each person, as they are able and choose, continue and be sovereign beings with regard to this process. My pendulum, my bobber is now turned to clockwise, which is my maximizing. We ask that each individual be empowered to maximize the beneficial energies around them, to fill all the holes that need filling with the most appropriate energy and process that creates perfect health in all aspects of their being on an ongoing basis within their own jurisdiction as a sovereign being, so that they may experience that which is most appropriate for them, all within their choice and territory. I am asking that process to continue, and off it goes. That was a quick one, right? 2 minutes, but it doesn't take long. You can be enlightened in a minute. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And I'll send you the full PDF, Susan@dowsing.ca. So just quickly, there's who I am again, dowsing.ca. I've written all the books. A bunch of them are on Amazon, print on delivery through Prime, if you've got Prime. Otherwise, you can just order it through there, or some on Kindle. All these workshops, if you want to hear me talk more, each is about 3 hours long. They're like $13.99 for a 30-day rental. So I'm proud of that. I got to say that. And that's me. And I thank you very much. So it's just fabulous that we even exist, right? That we exist as a community. And that we can share what we've experienced, and we can say the craziest things to each other. And, you know, when you go for supper, folks in the room or maybe at home, we can say the craziest things across the table, and people go, uh-huh, that happened to me too. And here's what I did. So share the information. So we say peace out, right? And you'll see you on the flip side.